everyone, good afternoon po. So I'll be your reporter for today, and right now I'm going to report about the history of educational planning. But before that, let us have first a review of what is an educational planning. So I have prepared here a short video and I want you to watch it so that meron na tayong idea of kung ano ba yung history and kung paano ito nagsimula.
Malia has dreams, big dreams. To achieve them, she must have access to a quality education. This is her fundamental right. Beyond this classroom, a whole system unfolds from pre-primary to adult learning. Its goal? To help Malia and her peers build a bright future. An education system includes everything from the human resources to the policies and financing that supports it. But this system doesn't just appear like magic. Without planning, the whole education system is threatened, along with Malia's dreams. So what is educational planning? It starts with all of the relevant actors coming together to create a vision for education. They anticipate the future with the resources of today. Different tools are used throughout the planning process to highlight any problem areas and help with financing and resource allocation. At the end, the stakeholders have turned the vision into a plan of action for Malia and her peers. But let's start now, because Malia can't wait. The government and education officials must lead the way and believe in the plan. It must also stay responsive to the local context, such as the geography or demography of the local population. And what if a natural disaster hits or a conflict erupts? Planning for resilience allows the system to stay afloat. When an education system is carefully planned, the fate of millions of children is protected, and Malia can build the life of her dreams.
And after watching the short video and before we will start the discussion, let's first define the terms. So I have here the term planning. So according to Adesina in 1990, he defines planning as a way of projecting our intentions, that is a method of deciding what we want to accomplish. So it's very obvious na we need planning to accomplish what we want. Kasi hindi naman natin ma-accomplish ang isang bagay if there is no planning at all. And sabi ni Ehiogu in 1990 also, he holds that to plan means to project, to forecast, design, or make or chart our courses. So, nag-agree sila ni Adesina. Para kay Ehiogu, to plan means to project or forecast or to design also. So, para ma-accomplish natin yung isang bagay, since that thing will happen in the future pa lang, kailangan nating i-visualize kung ano ba yung gusto nating mangyari. And from these two views, sabi dito, we can summarize that planning refers to the act of deciding in advance what is to be done, how and when to do it, where and who is to do it in order to achieve the goals or objectives of the system. So as you'll notice, we have these three things to remember. Again, the first one is what is to be done, the thing what, and then how and when to do it. And lastly, where and who is to do it. So to dig further about this, a plan is a detailed scheme or program or method worked out beforehand for the purpose of achieving a set of objectives. There are three basic elements in a plan. It deals with the future, involves action, and identifies who is to implement the future action. So as you will notice, this three is related with the recent slides na pinost ko kanina. But then again, yung tatlong yun, sila yung may major contribution on how are we going to accomplish the thing that we want to accomplish. So, sabi dito, planning bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to be. So I have here the illustration. The letter A is the where we are. And then the letter B is where we wanna be. So in between them is the planning. So meaning to say, planning is really important in anything na gusto nating ma-achieve in the near future. And after defining the term planning, the question would be, how does it affect our educational system today? Like parang, paano tayo nag-come up sa ganitong klaseng sistema ng edukasyon? Siyempre, yung planning na define natin kanina ay napakalaking tulong. So, let's define now what is an educational planning. Educational planning can be defined as the process of setting out in advance strategies, policies, procedures, programs, and standards through which an educational objective or set of objectives can be achieved. So, through this definition, meron na tayong idea masyado or nagkaroon tayo ng very light na idea kung paano tayo nagkaroon ng ganito kagandang or kaayos na educational system sa Philippines ngayon. Before, if we're gonna look back, ang educational system ay hindi pa ganun ka-okay. Now, by defining this educational planning, ito pala yung planning wherein meron tayong ginagawang strategies, di ba? Policies, procedures, programs, and standards para ma-achieve natin yung gusto nating makuha when it comes to our education. Proceeding, educational planning is a detailed and systematic process. It just not happen by chance. So meaning to say, having this kind of educational system sa Philippines ay hindi lang siya nangyari by chance. Ibig sabihin po, sobrang pinagplanuhan pala ng ating mga educational sectors ang sistema ngayon sa ating edukasyon. If we're gonna apply it in our personal experiences, hindi tayo magiging isang professional or hindi natin ma-achieve yung isang bagay na gusto nating makuha kung hindi tayo magpaplano. Kasi as it is stated, it just does not happen by chance, or everything is not just happen by chance. We have to plan for it. Walang bagay na nangyayari by chance lang. We really have to push through it. And lastly, sabi dito, it is goal-oriented. Meaning, it is directed at achieving set educational objectives. Yung ating educational planning and even our system today ay may mga objectives na may goal para ma-achieve natin yon. So, it's really important that if we set our goal, we also have our set of objectives para hindi tayo maliligaw. Dun lang tayo sa path, ito lang yung titignan natin para ma-achieve natin ang ating mga gustong ma-attain sa buhay. So, ngayon, we now have an idea on what is to plan when it comes to our education. Ano ba yung mga bagay na kailangang pagplanuhan pagdating sa educational system natin? At a minimum, they had to estimate how many students there would be. For example, how many classrooms, teachers, desks, and books would be needed to serve them adequately, how much money this would require, where the money would come from, and how and when it would be spent. So those are just an example of the things that we need to plan in our education. And for that, we're done defining planning and educational planning. Now, let's talk about the history of educational planning. So, sinabi ko nga kanina, before, ang educational system natin dito sa Philippines ay hindi pa katulad ng edukasyon natin ngayon. Hindi pa ka-level ng system of education na meron tayo ngayon. Now, let us discuss kung paano ba nagsimula ang ganitong klase ng sistema sa ating education. So, the history of educational planning in the Philippines. According to the Department of Education, today's educational planning in the Philippines can claim an unbroken history even before the establishment of our formal education system. So, napakaraming pinagdaanan ng ating system bago tayo mag-come up sa ating educational system today. During the pre-Spanish era and the period of more than 4 centuries when the Philippines was in the possession of Spain and of the United States, there was a long and a routine sort of educational planning, though it was not visible enough to compare with the present educational planning activities. So, during this time, nung tayo ay nasa panahon pa ng colonization ng US and Spain, meron na din pala tayong educational planning na nangyayari. Pero according to my source, hindi pa siya ganun ka-visible enough para ma-compare natin yung present educational planning activities natin ngayon sa educational planning activities before. Now, let's talk about the history of educational planning in the Philippines. I have prepared here the organization and the process of overall development planning. So, the history of educational planning started in the year 1962. The Program Implementation Agency, or the PIA, was created through Executive Order Number 17 to meet the need for an implementing authority to push through development plans. So, it is an organization to support the implementation of every organization para mag-push through pa sa mga development plans. Next year is the 1966. The PIA was changed to PES. Now, the Program Implementation Agency was changed to Presidential Economic Staff, or yung PES nga. The agencies like PES and the others like the NEC, the NEC, are assigned on planning and the other on programming stood head above all other government executive departments, corporations, financial institutions, chartered cities, and local governments in matters pertaining to these two functions. The NEC, or yung the NEC, was basically an advisory body with no executive functions. Later on, we will discuss kung ano ba yung NEC dito. But then, kasama na kasi siya ni PES. So, silang dalawa yung assigned naman para they are the ones responsible of assessing human resource and forecasting the needs of the trained personnel at various occupational levels. So, kung kanina, in the year 1962, PIA pa lang yung meron tayo, and sila yung organization na naka-assign lang para mag-approve, or they were the ones who authorized to push through with the development plans. Ngayon, napalitan na siya, nag-improve na siya, hindi lang nila basta cover yung implementation ng other development plans, but rather mas nagbigay pa sila ng focus sa mas malawak na bagay. So, yun nga, nagkaroon tayo dito ng responsibility of assessing human resources and forecasting the needs of trained personnel at the various occupational levels. At least, by this kind of organization, hindi lang sila yung tatakbuhan ng mga tao, or hindi lang sila yung pupuntahan lagi when it comes to push through development plans. At least ngayon, meron ng mga assigned personnel na depende sa kanilang various occupational levels, kung saan matutulungan sila ng mga taong ito na mag-assess sa mga bagay-bagay pa na kagaya ng nabanggit ko kanina. And next to our 1966 is the year 1972. With the proclamation of martial law in this year and the implementation of the Integrated Reorganization Plan, the National Economic and Development Authority, or yung NEDA, was created for the purpose of recommending continuing coordinated and fully integrated social and economic plans and programs. So ano ba itong NEDA na to, or yung National Economic and Development Authority? Para saan ba sila? This body is primarily charged with the task of overseeing government development programs. It is also central agency for national development planning and coordination of program implementation. So, as you notice, year by year, or as days goes by, or as years goes by then, marami na tayong organization na nabubuo. And from the specific organization na sila lang yung authorized for the implementation of other development programs or development planning. Ngayon, unti-unti na tayo nagkakaroon ng system wherein mas dumadami yung organization na mas nakakapag-focus pa sa kung ano-ano pang or doon sa maliliit pang organization or yung mga sub-organizations pa. Next to the year 1972 is in the year 1993. So the Commonwealth Act number 2 was passed, which created the National Education Council or the NECT. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na NEC na kasama ni PES. It was the central authority. Central authority ang NECT, who is responsible for the formulation of the definite and consistent national economic policies and the preparation of the comprehensive economic and social development plan. And under this organization, meron tayong mga groups na tinatawag wherein sila yung naka-assign sa any set of policies or any program in the council. Ano-ano ba itong mga groups na ito? So ito na po yun, concern of any or all of the following 4 groups. Number 1 is the council proper. Sino-sino yung mga nasa council proper? Sila yung mga congressional members, appointed members of the executive branch, and representative of the private sector. Next is the technical staff of the council. Who are these people? These are the members of the 3 main offices. Sila yung mga nasa national planning, foreign aid coordination, and statistical coordination and standards. Number 3 is yung nasa other departments, offices, and agencies of the government, particularly the Budget Commission, the Central Bank, the Department of Finance, Presidential Economic Staff, and last one is yung number 4, yung private sector. Now, as you will notice also, habang nagkakaroon tayo unti-unti ng sistema, hindi lang tayo basta nakafocus sa educational system, kagaya ng sinasabi ko ng history of educational system. Nandito na din yung other histories kung paano rin nagkasistema sa iba pang organization, sa iba pang mga samahan. And yung system na meron tayo ngayon sa education natin is part of what happened sa other systems na meron tayo sa Pilipinas, hindi lang sa educational system. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, sa paglaki, sa paglago, sa pag-unlad ng bansang Pilipinas, ay kalakip nun yung mga plans, policies, diba, strategies na ginagawa para mas mag-improve ang isang bansa. So, same with our educational system. Bago tayo nagkaroon ng ganitong klase ng sistema, dumaan muna tayo sa napakaraming policies, strategies, and sa napakaraming organization din. Mamaya, unti-unti, makikita nyo kung paano tayo bababa sa ating educational system. Continuation, still under the year 1993, ito yung Commonwealth Act number 2 natin na tinatawag or yung Central Authority responsible for the formulation of definite and consistent national economic policies and the preparation of comprehensive economic and social development plan. This program should be approved by the president of both policies and programs of the council before they could be implemented by the government's departments, offices, and agencies. So, ano-ano ba yung kailangan para bago pa siya ma-implement? Of course, the policies and programs of the council kailangan siyang ma-present, and then yung approval ng president, and lastly, yung implementation pa lang ng government's departments, offices, and agencies. These 3 should, yung pinaka-major nito is it should be approved by the president bago pa siya ma-implement. The National Economic Council was under the office of the president and headed by a chairman with cabinet rank. So, sa regional level, planning was undertaken by the various regional development authorities kasi regional level naman sila. And on the local level, a provincial economic planning was set under the auspices of the Defunct Emergency or Administration. The NEC o yung the NEC coordinated the planning activities of these agencies. Kasi sila talaga yung assigned dyan. Sila yung authorized para sa program na ito. He was directly responsible to the President of the Philippines, yung NEC mismo. And that's all for the organization and process of overall development planning. So, dun sa overall development planning na yun, dun nabuo yung mga organizations na kung saan assign para maging authorized sa mga policies and strategies na yun. Now, from those organizations, let's talk about the development of educational planning. Merong mga organizations na nabanggit kanina na part ng ating development of educational planning. Now, after the year 1953, although it is not part of the organizational process of overall development planning kasi we're done with that, now we will start now with the development educational planning. Pero continuation pa din siya. So, the next year is the 1954. So, in this year, the defunct Congress of the Philippines created the Board of National Education through Republic Act No. 1124. Ano-ano ba itong Board of National Education na to or yung BNE? First is yung to formulate objectives and basic policies of education in conformity with Constitution. So ito na, unti-unti na tayo nagkakaroon ng system sa education. Second is to coordinate the objectives, functions, and activities of different types of educational institution. And the third, to set up general goals of accomplishments for the entire school system. With these goals, na-visualize na natin yung pagkakaroon ng system, kung bakit napaka-ayos ng ating educational system ngayon. Although not perfect, pero still in a work in progress. So, ano bang function ito? What's the broad function of this Board of National Education? So the board, aside from being the highest policy-making body in education, has been known as the first official planning body for education. Initially, its activities that were concentrated on the public school system were integrated with the National Development Plan. So using these objectives, mas na-integrate pa natin yung ating public school system sa National Development Plan. So, yung na-mention kanina na functions ng Board of National Education ay hindi lang as it is, hindi lang yung tatlong yun talaga. So, the Republic Act No. 4372 amended the Republic Act No. 1124 and provide, among others, the following additional functions of Board of National Education. So, through this Republic Act 4372, mas nagkaroon pa tayo ng additional functions ng Board of National Education, wherein mas naging specific para mas mag-improve pa ang ating educational system. Ano-ano ba ito? Letter A, to establish guidelines, policies, and criteria on the basis of which the examination, evaluation, and approval of textbooks by the Board of Textbooks shall be made. So, sa letter A, doon na tayo nagkaroon ng mas maraming guidelines, ng policies, nagkaroon tayo ng mga criteria on the basis of the examination and evaluation, and we also have the approval of textbooks na ginagawa ng Board of Textbooks, di ba? So, kung mapapansin nyo, unti-unti, little by little, nagkakaroon tayo ng system when it comes to being specific to being general. And the second one is to compile educational statistics, keep records on education, conduct researches, surveys, and studies on educational conditions and problems, evaluate the effects of national educational policies, and undertake such other activities as to effectively carry out the purpose of this act. Yun naman kasi talaga yung purpose ng act na ito. Okay? So sa second, nagkaroon tayo ng compilation ng mga statistics when it comes to our records of our education. Nakapag-conduct na rin tayo ng mga researches for improvement, diba? Surveys and studies on educational conditions and problems. And the third one is to secure data. Of course, after having those records, it is our responsibility to secure it para mas mag-improve tayo, mas mag-develop yung ating education system. To secure data and information from all government offices and entities and educational institutions, public and private, and to consult and confer with the officers and personnel thereof on such matters as may be necessary for the board to discharge its function. And the last one is to submit an annual report to the President and to the Congress not later than January 31st of each year, which shall include a compilation of the national educational system and recommendation to the executive and legislative branches of the government on the improvement of the educational system of the country. So, nagkaroon na rin tayo ng mga schedule kung kung kailan tayo dapat magpasa ng mga bagay-bagay. Siyempre, bakit ba kailangan gawin yon? For improvement, for revision, and for our development din. Next is the year 1965 to 1970. So, these are what happened in between the year 1965 to 1970. So, the Department Memorandum Number 10 Series of 1965 issued by the Secretary of Education the bureaus and agencies to integrate and coordinate efforts in the administration of developmental programs and to effect a closer cooperation with the National Planning Agencies, NEC and PES. Department of Education Coordinating Committee for Educational Planning. Operational planning then in the Department of Education originated from its three bureaus. Although in principle, these bureau sectoral plans were consolidated at the level of the Secretary of Education. In practice, they were submitted to the Office of the President with hardly any substantial change and were not cursed through the Board of National Education unless they involve changes in curricula and standards. So, it can be said that in the past years, the partial educational planning in the Philippines, both of policy and implementing levels, was more concerned with humanistic values, quality of instruction, and cost determination than integration into the general strategy for accelerated economic development according to DEX. In the year 1972 naman, educational decree, the National Board of Education or the NBE shall be assisted by an Office Planning and Research Planning Service in the Department of Education. Now here, ito na yung last part ng development of educational planning. Kung mapapansin nyo, nag-down na tayo sa system natin ngayon, wherein nag-last siya in the year up to the year 1972 and it continues naman. Pero these are just the history. So, nag-end yung ating system ng education in the year 1972. At dito nga, nag-end siya sa pagkakaroon ng planning service in the Department of Education. So, meaning to say, continuous ang planning service na ginagawa ng DepEd for more improvements. So, kaya lahat naman tayo, diba, para mas mag-improve tayo, revise and revise lang. Kasi, continuous din naman ang learning. So, for my last slide po, ito ay not part of the development of educational planning pa din. But, to end my report and to close my report, sabi dito, through the Office of the Division of Educational Planning, the Department of Education conducted a comprehensive review of the educational system in coordination with the Presidential Commission to Survey Philippine Education or yung PCSPE. So, sabi dito, through the Office of the Division of Educational Planning, ang Department of Education na nag-conduct ng comprehensive review para mas makita yung educational system natin in coordination with the PCSPE. Kung meron ba talagang improvement? Well, kung titignan naman natin at kung iwiwi naman talaga natin, napakalaki naman talaga ng naging improvement natin from nothing to ganito kaayos na system sa education. One of the concrete measures recommended by the PCSPE was to expand the planning division. Consequently, Educational Decree of 1972 provides in part the National Board of Education or the NBE shall be assisted by an Office of Planning and Research known as Planning Service in the Department of Education. The Planning Service of the Department of Education and Culture Secondary and Higher Education. So the proposed Division of Planning and Programming of the Department of Education was expected to consolidate the plans of the bureaus into 5-year Department of Education report which would establish priorities. So that's all for my report po, History of Educational Planning. I hope you guys learned a lot. Thank you and God bless.